You ever have one of those mornings that feel like a warm hug from the universe? That was us, me, my daughter Zoe, and my mother, Miriam, in our little slice of suburban peace out in Pineview Ridge, Oregon. The kind of cul-de-sac where everyone waves. Dogs bark lazily. And the most exciting thing is when someone puts up a new mailbox. That morning, I truly believed nothing could go wrong. Zoe was on the driveway. Her favorite place in the world. She's 12. Brilliant. And non-verbal autistic. But give her a box of sidewalk chalk and she'll paint entire galaxies, her own language written in Saturn rings and moon trails. That morning, she was mid-Jupiter. Her face scrunched with laser focus. Tongue sticking out just slightly. As she shaded the perfect storm swirls. The sun hit her hair just right. And for a moment, the world made sense. I was leaning against the porch railing, nursing a cup of black coffee like it was sacred, while Miriam sat nearby, wrapped in her threadbare morning robe, rocking gently. She'd always been stoic in the mornings. Not cold, just calculating. You wouldn't guess by looking at her, with her grey curls and slippers. But she used to be a homicide detective with the Portland PD. 30 years of service. Never lost a case. Never needed to raise her voice. You think she'll ever get tired of planets? I asked, nodding at Zoe. Miriam didn't even look up from her book. Only when the solar system runs out of wonder, she murmured. Which means probably never. And then it happened. A low hum. Tires. Slow and steady. Too slow for a passerby. Too quiet for delivery. I turned my head just as a white SUV pulled up and stopped dead center at the edge of our driveway. No plates. Blacked out windows. My stomach did a small somersault. Two men stepped out, both in dark tactical vests marked with bold letters, HOA enforcement. No real badges. No city logo. Just off-brand menace and a cheap authoritarian aesthetic. One was lean and tall. Sunglasses reflecting the whole world. The other was built like a refrigerator, bald. Scowling. With arms too short for the attitude he carried. Morning. I called. Trying to keep it casual. Can I help you? The tall one raised a clipboard like it gave him power. Is that your daughter? He asked, pointing directly at Zoe. Miriam's eyes lifted, just slightly. Her hand slipped off the book. She's drawing on common property. The bald one cut in before I could answer. Driveways and sidewalks are HOA regulated. Regulation 14C, defacement of community surfaces. My grip on my mug tightened. It's chalk, I said. It washes off. She's a kid. She's not vandalizing anything. No exceptions. The clipboard guy snapped. We've already issued a citation to the Reynolds boy for leaving a scooter on the lawn. This is worse. Miriam set her book down. Spine up. A storm was brewing beneath that robe. What HOA are you even with? I asked. Stepping off the porch now. Putting myself between them and Zoe, who had paused and was now clutching her chalk box like a teddy bear. I've never seen you. I've never received a notice. We don't answer to homeowners. The tall one sneered. We're operational enforcers. And your daughter is in non-compliance. Then he took a step forward. Zoe flinched, just barely. But I saw it. She didn't scream. Didn't say a word. But her entire body tensed. A small silent signal of panic. That's close enough. I warned. You're upsetting her. She's not following directives. The bald man muttered, reaching into a pocket, pulling out plastic zip ties. And then I heard it. The sound of a chair creaking. And slippered feet touching wood. 3 seconds, Miriam said. Her voice slicing the morning like a scalpel. That's all you get. They didn't turn. Excuse me? The tall one barked. 3 seconds. She repeated. Louder this time. To walk away. Or you'll find out what enforcement really looks like. And that's when things spiraled, and the sidewalk art wasn't the only thing about to leave a mark. You ever seen an old woman in a bathrobe move like a tactical officer? No? Well, Neither had the two morons who thought zip-tying a special needs child on her own driveway was a brilliant idea. But that's exactly what unfolded on a quiet Saturday morning at the end of Pineview Ridge. Right in front of half the neighborhood and a dozen phone cameras. The moment the zip ties came out, something changed in the air. Like a dog sensing lightning before it strikes. Zoe let out a choked gasp, no words. Just a sound of fear so raw it scraped across my spine like a wire brush. She dropped her chalk. It clattered against the concrete and rolled toward the edge of the lawn. The bald man lunged. That's when I heard the familiar shuffle of slippers against wood. 3 seconds, Miriam said. Stepping off the porch like the wind had called her. Her bathrobe billowed slightly, caught in the breeze. But her stance was iron. The two fake HOA enforcers turned. Confused. Clipboard guy, let's call him Randy. Since he never gave a name, squinted like she just interrupted a sales pitch. You can step back inside. Grandma, he said mockingly, waving his hand. Miriam's eyes didn't move. Zoe was trembling. I could see her from the corner of my eye. Still frozen. Her small fingers clenched tightly around the empty box. Baldy, the one holding the zip ties, snorted. Or what? You gonna call the cops? No, Miriam said. Stepping onto the driveway. Voice calm. Steady. Lethal. I am the cop. 2. That's when it hit me, the robe might be cotton. But the woman inside was steel. She hadn't unlearned a thing. You lay one more hand on that girl, she continued. Now within 5 feet of them. And you'll be eating breakfast through a straw. Randy reached out again. Cocky grin plastered on his face. Lady. You're interfering with enforcement proceedings. 3, Miriam whispered. And then the robe flew. She moved like she was still on duty. A step slide pivot. One hand locked onto Randy's wrist. The other on his elbow. With a single torque, she sent him tumbling forward. His face smacked the concrete so hard his sunglasses shattered on impact. He let out a groan. Curled up like a crushed lawn chair. Baldy blinked. Stunned. Holy, hey! He lunged at her with the zip ties raised like he thought they were handcuffs. But Miriam saw it coming before he even twitched. She ducked low. Sidestepped. And caught his incoming arm with a snap pivot grip that twisted his shoulder backward. He bellowed like a wounded bull as she brought him down in a single, controlled movement, face first into the driveway. Shoulder pinned. Knees buckled. I could hear the neighbors gasp. Phil, 2 doors down, was already whispering into his phone. Live streaming. She just body slammed both of them. In a bathrobe. I swear to God. Miriam stood over them both. Her breath calm. Unshaken. Like this was just Tuesday at the station. Stay down. She ordered. And don't move unless you want the other one dislocated too. Randy groaned something incoherent. But it was the kind of groan that comes from realizing your whole plan just fell apart at the hands of someone's grandma. I rushed to Zoe. Dropping to my knees and pulling her close. She melted into my arms. Silent tears soaking into my shirt. It's okay, I whispered. She's got you. You're safe now. The bald man tried to squirm. Miriam calmly raised her foot and planted it, heel first, on his wrist. Not hard. Just enough. Tell me, she said. Voice low. Who sent you? Karen, he spat through clenched teeth. Karen Whitmore. HOA president. Said we had jurisdiction. Miriam narrowed her eyes. That's funny. Because in this county, there's no registered HOA enforcement division. Which means you're just 2 thugs playing dress up. She turned to me. Her voice crisp, call 911. Tell them we've got impersonators and an attempted child snatching. I'll hold them. And she did. While half the street stared in shock. And the other half recorded the scene. Miriam Bishop, 68. Retired detective. Caffeine enthusiast. And now official neighborhood legend, stood like a stone sentinel in a robe and slippers. Guarding her granddaughter and daring the world to test her again. And this was only the beginning. By the time the first patrol car screeched to a halt at the end of our street, The temperature had dropped, maybe not in degrees, but in tone. Gone was the chirping of birds, the hum of sprinklers. It was all sirens and whispers now. A dozen neighbors hovered near their mailboxes. Phones up. Mouths slightly agape. The street had become a live broadcast. And my mother Miriam stood at the center of it like the eye of the storm. 2 officers jumped out. Weapons holstered but hands hovering. I raised one palm in the air. We called. My mother detained them. One officer, a young guy, maybe 30, squinted at the scene, 2 men flat on the pavement, groaning and zip-tied with their own plastic cuffs. My mom didn't look at him. She was too focused on the bald one still trying to wriggle free. She didn't hurt them more than necessary. I added quickly. They tried to abduct my daughter. That changed everything. The second officer's posture stiffened. Where's the child? Over here. I pointed. Zoe was sitting under a blanket now, sipping warm apple juice and clinging to her chalk box like it held the keys to the universe. My mom calmly held out her old police ID. Miriam Bishop. Retired. These 2 impersonated HOA officers. No badges. No warrants. No authority. One had his hands on my autistic granddaughter. I gave 3 warnings. Then I neutralized the threat. The younger cop gave a slow, surprised nod. Yes, Mom. We'll take it from here. Within minutes, backup arrived. EMTs began checking the suspect's vitals while 2 other officers inspected the unmarked white SUV parked at the curb. No plates. The windows looked tinted enough to be illegal. What's in the car? I asked. Nothing good. The officer muttered. Empty folders. Fake citation slips. And about 6 sets of tactical vests. No legit credentials. Nothing connecting them to any official HOA. He held up a clipboard, cracked down the middle, filled with phony notices. One of them read. Violation 22C, non-standard children's activity on driveway. I felt my fists clench. Then came the moment that lit the fire. A neighbor, Bill, retired Marine, stepped forward. I've got it all on video, he said. From when they walked up to when she took them both down. Want me to airdrop it? The officers nodded eagerly. The bald man whimpered as his arms were cuffed for real this time. We were hired, he shouted. Karen told us this was legal. Karen who? The officer asked. Karen Whitmore, he spat. President of the Ridgewood Community HOA. She gave us the uniforms. The forms. She said we were private enforcement. My mom exhaled sharply. Ridgewood's HOA was dissolved 5 years ago. I looked it up before I even bought this house. That caught the cops' attention. You're saying this HOA doesn't exist? Not officially, she said. Not in county records. But someone's been acting like it does. And just like that, the switch flipped. The officers made a few urgent calls. One of them tapped into the state HOA registry database from a cruiser tablet. After a few tense moments, he looked up and shook his head. No listing for any HOA under Ridgewood. Not now. Not ever. These guys aren't enforcement. They're just scammers. High-functioning bullies with clipboards. Karen's running a racket. I muttered. The officers agreed. It was a textbook con. Fake uniforms. Bogus citations. Target the vulnerable, families with kids. Elderly residents. People too intimidated to question it. They'd extort fines or threaten legal action. Then vanish before anyone called real law enforcement. It was a pattern that had flown under the radar, until today. They've done this before. My mom said. The way they moved. The arrogance. The script. This wasn't their first. Sure enough. Within hours, police linked their vehicle to sightings in 12 other neighborhoods across the county. Same routine, no IDs. Same language about compliance enforcement. And always citing made-up HOA codes. And always the same name tying it together, Karen Whitmore. She had built an illusion of authority on printer paper and fear. But today, the spell was broken and her house of cards was about to fall. By sundown, Our cul-de-sac didn't just feel different, it was different. There was still shattered chalk dust on the driveway. A bent pair of sunglasses lay forgotten in the grass. And the echoes of my daughter Zoe's scream still lingered in the corners of my mind. But none of us knew yet that something much bigger was unfolding. Bill, the marine neighbor with the reflexes of a drone operator and the filming instincts of a TikToker, uploaded the entire confrontation that evening. He titled it, "Grandma Takes Down Fake HOA Cops Like It's 1989" and added the tag hashtag Saturn Justice after seeing Zoe's still visible chalk planet in the video's final frame. Within 12 hours, it had 50,000 views. By morning, it had 2.2 million. That's when everything changed. Major news outlets picked it up first. A segment ran on the local 6 a.m. broadcast. Then it hit national cable news by lunchtime. The anchor's voice was measured. But even she couldn't hide the awe. An Oregon grandmother, retired law enforcement, defends her autistic granddaughter from impersonators posing as HOA enforcers. The video, now viral, is being called a symbol of grassroots justice. Then came the daytime talk shows. By day 3, the internet had crowned my mom Sergeant Nana. There were mashup videos with slow-motion takedowns, edits with the Avengers soundtrack. Someone even superimposed her in a cape. She hated every second of it. "This isn't about fame," she muttered one morning, still in her bathrobe. "I didn't pose for this," I reacted. "But you did it right," I told her. And the world noticed. That same day, a woman from Utah messaged me through Facebook. She had a son with autism. The message read, "Your mother is everything I hope to be if someone ever threatens my child." Another came from a retired judge in Connecticut. That woman didn't just stop a crime, she reminded us all what courage looks like. And somewhere in the chaos of interviews, social media, and late-night hosts calling Miriam a one-woman police department, something else happened. Karen Whitmore vanished. Not like disappeared off the face of the earth vanished. But she went dark. No social media activity. Her house, previously festooned with HOA banners and plastic flamingo compliance notices, looked abandoned. Until the subpoena arrived. Thanks to the bald man's confession and the digital trail found in the SUV's GPS logs, police connected Karen directly to over a dozen fake citations and fraudulent fines issued across multiple neighborhoods. They uncovered emails instructing the HOA enforcers to be firm, authoritative, and persistent, and one that literally read, "Target homes with visible toys, ramps, or chalk. These residents tend not to push back." That last sentence made my skin crawl. Within a week, Karen was arrested. News vans rolled down our street like it was the Macy's parade. Reporters stood at the curb, whispering dramatically into cameras. Karen Whitmore, self-declared HOA president, was taken into custody today on charges including conspiracy to commit fraud, impersonation of a government official, criminal intimidation, and child endangerment. I watched it unfold from the front porch. Zoe beside me, drawing a new planet in coral blue. She didn't say a word, but I noticed her lines were steadier, her hands calmer. "Mom," I said to Miriam, who stood sipping from her world's toughest grandma mug, "you realize you didn't just take them down. You lit a fire." She shrugged. "I didn't light it. They did. I just aimed it." And aim it she did, straight at the heart of a growing national conversation. The hashtag Saturn Justice trended for 3 straight days. Parents reposted chalk drawings from their own kids, tagging them as acts of peaceful resistance. Autism advocacy groups began using Zoe's art as a symbol of inclusion and safety. One school district launched a Chalk for Change initiative where students decorated sidewalks with messages about justice and kindness. And in the middle of it all, a grandmother in slippers, a driveway made of stars, and a crooked HOA empire that collapsed under the weight of one fearless woman who didn't hesitate when it counted. But the ripple effects? Oh, those were just beginning. 3 weeks after the takedown, Zoe's Saturn drawing was still there, faint but holding on. Weathered by wind and a light October drizzle, pink rings. A yellow core. Bits of comet dust smudged by footsteps. But still recognizable. Still proud. It hadn't been cleaned off. Not by us. Not by the city. Not by anyone. In fact, by the time the mayor called, the drawing had become a quiet landmark. People came, not in waves, but in pairs. In families. Some left behind boxes of chalk. Others wrote tiny messages around it in careful cursive, "Thank you. Protect the children." Saturn stands for all of us. We never asked for attention. But it came. The mayor, a young man with an easy smile and worn sneakers, visited our front yard in person. He didn't bring a film crew or a police escort. Just a thermos of chamomile tea and a simple offer. "We'd like to preserve it," he said, glancing toward the chalk. "Permanently. With a clear resin. Seal it. Like a piece of public history." Miriam hesitated. "It's just chalk." "No. It's not," he replied. "It's a line in the sand. A message. And a reminder that real authority doesn't always wear a uniform. Sometimes it wears house slippers." She didn't laugh. She nodded. And 2 days later, the city crew came. They didn't wear the usual safety vests. These guys showed up with painter's tape, gloves, and a reverence usually reserved for statues. They cleaned the area gently. No water. Just soft brushes. Then they poured the resin, slow and even. I watched the chalk darken slightly, then glow as it settled beneath the seal like something sacred. That same afternoon, they returned with a plaque. Bronze. Heavy. They mounted it directly beneath the preserved planet. "This spot is protected by strength, love, and justice. In honor of Zoe, who drew her world, and Miriam, who defended it." When I read those words aloud, Zoe reached out, quiet, deliberate, and touched the planet. Her fingers followed the curve of the ring. She didn't say anything, but her eyes sparkled. I could tell she understood. But that wasn't all. 3 weeks after Karen Whitmore's arrest, the Rivers Act passed in a unanimous vote at the state capitol. Named after Miriam's maiden name, the bill was deceptively simple. All neighborhood or HOA enforcement personnel must carry city-verified ID. Any attempt to impersonate an HOA authority would be treated as a Class C felony. Vulnerable residents, children, elderly, and those with disabilities, would receive added protections under expanded public nuisance and harassment statutes. The law passed faster than anyone expected, because this wasn't just a local issue anymore. This was a national wake-up call. Karen's case wasn't the only one. Across the country, reports surfaced of similar scams. Fake citations, phony inspections, predatory fines targeting people who didn't know how to fight back. For too long, the illusion of authority had gone unchecked. But now, people were looking closer. Some called it the chalk line effect. Others called it a backyard revolution. For us, it was just one truth, etched in faded color and sealed in concrete: no child should ever feel unsafe on their own driveway. And Zoe? She's still drawing. The preserved Saturn became her anchor. But now she's expanded. A solar system now covers our front walk. Jupiter, Neptune, even a small rocket ship headed toward a cluster of stars. One day, I asked her what it was. She looked up from her chalk. "That's home," she whispered. "But safer." As for Miriam, she was recently asked to consult with a federal task force investigating community-based impersonation crimes. She refused the press, the interviews, and the podcast offers, but she said yes to that. "I don't want a statue," she told me. "I want this never to happen again." And in the quiet of a late Sunday evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, I stood on the porch and watched Zoe draw with her grandma. 2 generations. 1 driveway. A planet. A plaque. And a message no HOA scam could ever erase. You don't need a title to protect what matters. You just need the will to stand between what's right and what's pretending to be.